Hello viewers, welcome back to video tutorial on AgentGrid. In this video, we'll discuss yet another example of a workflow with AgentGrid SDK. In our previous videos, you can check our previous videos from our YouTube channel OpenAGI.Network, and in that you can check the AgentGrid workflows. So you can check all the videos available in this playlist. So in our previous videos, we have discussed about simple workflow, multiple level workflow, and hierarchical workflow. So in this video, we'll talk about another simple workflow, but within another example. So why this example is created is because of the communication pattern. So in the simple workflow, we had a very static graph defined, and there were 5-6 agents, and they were talking in very serial fashion. It was defined in a spec file. Whereas in a multi-level workflow, there was an router agent, and there was again a sub nested workflow or a sub workflow, where the router agent was talking to the dynamic router agent was connected to the sub workflow with the help of the workflow manager. Here also all the agents were connected via the help of workflow manager. So here it was simple. Here it was about dynamic calling the one of the sub workflow, which was a static sub workflow. So dynamic calls the static sub workflow, and in the hierarchical workflow, it is all about several layers of a workflow. So the leaf layer was again a sub workflow, and beyond that there was a COS, chief of staff sub workflow, and above that there was one other sub workflow. So where every sub workflows are nested within one other sub workflow. So in this example, in this current video, so the simple workflow 2. So what this example shows you is about again one other connection pattern. So I have one legal contract review, static, dynamic, static. So it's basically to show the example of static, dynamic, calling static. So we have created this example. So in this workflow, you have one main workflow where it has two entities. One is one agent here, the clause extractor agent, and one other is one other sub workflow. So the sub workflow is a dynamic in nature. So there is an agent, there is a sub workflow which is a dynamic in nature, and in that sub workflow there is a router agent, and it calls it connects another with another static workflow. So in the static workflow, you have a serial agents connected one to each other. So basically, you have a router, you have a sub workflow. In that sub workflow, it is a dynamic. So the router takes care of switching to the different agents or different sub workflows. So the router agent will take care of that, and the output of that will be basically again passing to one other static workflow. So the coding examples are similar to the sample workflow. Whatever if you see this, the codes are very same. So only thing is the workflows are different. So here it is a simple workflow. The same agents are taken, and we have created a simple workflow too. So I'll not go and explain the codes, but I'll just maybe show you the workflow files. So here there's a main spec file, and there is a static spec file. The second workflow, the dynamic is the second workflow, and the static is the third workflow. So let me just show you that. So here is a main spec file. So if you go to main spec file, it has two nodes. One is a clause extractor agent, it's an agent type, and the second one is a workflow, which is a simple dynamic workflow. So in the graph, if you see, so it is a statically connected. So the graphs are graphs are defined in a static ways, where the output of clause extractor agent, which is this agent, will go to the sub workflow itself. So this is my simple dynamic workflow, and this is what was in the diagram. So clause extractor agent, and it calls the sub workflow, and the second is about a dynamic, so which is nothing but this particular box. So in the dynamic workflow, so you have nodes. Two nodes are present here. One is a router agent, which is nothing but this agent, and one other is a static workflow. So it is a workflow type, it is an agent type. So here it is in dynamic in nature. So, and the dynamic guy is nothing but this particular router agent. So in the third workflow, which is again a static workflow, so you have four sub agents. So they are connected one after the other in a static fashion. So we were able to define it in a static graph, and it is defined in the static graph. So basically we have a static graph, main static graph, there is a dynamic graph, and there is a static, again one other nested static graph. So this covers the examples that we have covered so far will cover most of the different connection patterns. So let me, I'll not go and explain again the codes. The codes looks very similar, so no difference. Only thing is the new root agent was added here, and this root agent is doesn't have to route to many different agents or workflows. It has just one sub workflow, so it just routes that. So let me just show you the output of this root agent, so that you will get to know how the routing will happen, what is the output of the root agent. So basically, as soon as a routing agent, we have one small root function, so it will respond with the next steps. Either this is an array, either it will send an empty array or a array with some objects or a dictionary. So here you can see if there is no last node, it means this is the first time this agent is being called, no history of calls or anything. So it is returning a static workflow's name. So node static workflow, which is nothing but defined in the top. So node static workflow is nothing but my simple static workflow, and basically it will get returned from this particular agent, and the input for that it will be returned. And here after any time this root agent is called, and then it will send return equal to a empty array. So which means, so it is not having any other sub agents or sub workflows to call, only this particular agent to call. So so whenever this next step is returned, so basically that next step will be sent back to the our workflow manager in the next nodes section. So it is an array of nodes. So in this basically will contain only the static workflow's name, nothing else will be there. So this is the router agent, so which does routing to only for time being, since we wanted to keep the example very short, but we want to show you the communication pattern. We have reused the same code except this particular router agent. So let me run that simple graph. So first register the agents, build the dockers. So the flow remains same. So first register the agents, and then build the dockers and deploy the dockers. So all the dockers are with the name -2, because I have used the without hyphen for the first example. So I'm keeping a separate Docker image itself. So once all dockers are compiled, the build, so we can run the deploy agent. So to check the pods of our deployments, so yeah, the containers are getting created. Let me rerun again. Yes, the containers are created, and now I have to register all the spec files. So let me open the register workflow.sh. So register workflow.sh, it basically registers 3 JSON files. So one is about our static first high level, next is a dynamic, and again third is a static level. So the static which is the bottommost. So here basically we are doing the JSON files contain some env variables that we are replacing. So basically we are registering 3 JSON files in this particular bash file. So let me do that, and let me deploy the workflow. So in the deploy workflow file, you will see I'm calling the first legal contract review, so which is nothing but this. So I'm calling the legal contract review only. Other JSON files I'm not at all calling, since we have registered those other JSON files. So the workflow manager knows other sub workflows. So in this we are calling only the legal contract review workflow static, dynamic, static, and we are giving a workflow ID, and we are giving a deployment name. So these all are passed by the env variable. So the env variable is present in the root of the project. So it will simply replace these variables with the content present in the env file. So let me run the deploy workflow. The deployment of the workflow manager is done, so it is accessible here. So every time the port will keep on changing, like because we are creating a new pod and the service will be created, and this is the service port. So let me run the workflow. So here, yeah, uh, sequential workflow. This is the simple sequential workflow, and it started 14 seconds back. So this is some other example, and let me run the Streamlit app. The Streamlit app is running. So let me just refresh. Yes, the Streamlit app is running, and let us send the input. So let me just refresh the dashboard. Yes, the clause agent has got the input, it's incoming, and it has sent the output, and it has put some content of its like clauses details, and then it goes to the second is the simple workflow router agent. Router agent gets the input and it gives the output. I guess it passes that to the next sub workflow, which is nothing but which contains these 4 agents. So it has got the risk identifier, got it, and simply it will basically they will add some content to the input, and they will send their details. So finally the legal memo gets the output. So our side, so its input has come, and let us refresh it. Yes, the output has come, and the output has come to the router agent, because the router agent has called the sub workflow, and now this is the final output. So basically in this demo we have shown you how sub workflows with the different static, dynamic, static will work, and how you can utilize, like with the help of all other workflows, how you can make use of to construct a very complex workflows using the simple examples that we have shown. So as it is a demo, so let me just do an housekeeping stuff of removing workflows. So let me unregister it, remove the agents, unregister the agents. Yes, that completes the unregistration. So that's it for this video. So thanks for watching and keep supporting us. Thank you.